I would now like to turn the call over to your host for today, Mr. Mark Tulay, Executive Director, U.S. Please proceed, sir.
Thank you for the introduction, and good afternoon, morning, or evening, depending on where you are joining us today. We are thrilled to have such a broad and diverse group with us today, with participants from Romania, Australia, the Netherlands, Brazil, Ivory Coast. So this is truly a global group, and we are discussing truly a global issue. The title of the webinar series is Moving Markets, the Sustainable Products Revolution. I thought about this before the workshop when I had my coffee this morning, wondering, is my coffee truly sustainable? Is it organic? Was it fair trade certified? Were employees treated fairly? Were human rights protected? And which of the 800 or so environmental and sustainability standards and labels could we really trust? And how do we make sense of this in a chaotic market? So today we will provide some insight on this for consumers looking for guidance on what is truly sustainable. For investors looking to assess a company's sustainability risk and opportunity, and for businesses looking for guidance on what initiatives to focus their resources on. Today we plan to provide practical solutions and advice for our audience. Although I doubt we'll solve it all in 1 hour, it might take another hour, but the good news is that we have a follow-up session on November 18th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm Mark Tulay. I'm the Executive Director in the U.S. of People for Earth, www.people4earth.org. Today we will discuss how sustainability is shaping and moving markets, from the farmers' markets to the capital markets. A few logistical points of note before we introduce our distinguished presenters. If you need assistance getting into the call or having technical problems, enter *0 and the operator will be happy to help. The format for the call today is as follows. The official part of the call will end at 3 p.m. We encourage everyone to send your questions through the chat box in the bottom right-hand side. We'll work to get back to everyone. We might not be able to respond to you on the phone on the webinar today, but we will circle back and respond to all questions. So we really want this to be interactive, and we invite and encourage questions. At the end of the session, we'll continue the webinar for another few minutes for those that want to stay on and learn more about People for Earth, and we'll do a tour of our website. Lastly, at the end of the session, all attendees will receive a copy of the white paper that we're discussing today, in part on sustainable consumption. This is a 35-page exhaustive study on, and we will be happy to share that with anyone who is on the call today, along with additional materials that we'll follow up with. The call and the webinars hosted by People for Earth are designed to educate, inspire in a positive way. It is clear to many of us that we're entering a new age, conscious consumption, where stakeholders recognize the need for us as a society to quickly restore balance between markets and reach what could be called an equilibrium on a global scale. And there's good news to report, and our presenters today will be focusing on the good news. But before we turn to the presenters, I wanted to spend the next 3 minutes framing and setting the stage, beginning with the concept of markets. What is a market, and why do we need to move and shape it? And more germane, what is happening now in terms of market transformation among consumers and investors that are driving this sustainable products revolution? So markets defined as a variety of different systems, institutions, procedures, and infrastructures whereby persons trade in goods and services are exchanged, forming the economy. In mainstream economics, the concept of a market is any structure that allows buyers and sellers to exchange any type of good, service, and information. So we are presenting on this slide you see in front of you what we think is the continuum of markets. On the one end are the farmers' markets that we wanted to look at and be curious about. And the other end is the capital markets. We have consumers shaping and influence the farmers' markets and investors on the capital markets. Lessons learned about the farmers markets. I want to touch upon that. Why are we referencing the farmers markets? What does it have to do with the capital markets? I think there are three important lessons that we can learn from the farmers markets. One, farmers market, we all know, transparency. Second, simplicity. And third is accountability and traceability. When you go to a farmer's market, you buy an apple, this is the embodiment of a transparent market. You see the food, and you actually oftentimes see the producer. There is no middleman. It's complete transparency. And there's trust that is built in that transaction. On the capital market side, then, derivatives are the opposite of that. Derivatives have eroded $11 trillion in wealth. So I think there's much that the capital markets can learn from the farmers markets. Second is the simplicity. A famous quote that we use is, simplicity is complexity resolved. Today in our grocery stores, we have lost, in some ways, the connection to our food and to our products. But there are signs that this is transforming now quickly, and major changes are happening that are positive, driven by initiatives like the Walmart initiatives. The third is accountability and traceability, back to the source. You know where it comes from and who owns it. And we think that those three aspects, if you put it together, the accountability, the traceability of it, the simplicity of it. One way to think about the challenges on the capital market is to think about the simplicity and just try asking one of your brokers to describe what a credit default swap is in 30 seconds and see how simple that is. So with that, let's jump into the presenters, and I'm really delighted to introduce two individuals that are transforming markets. Daniel Goleman, author of Ecological Intelligence, best-selling author also of Emotional Intelligence, and someone who is really passionate and is moving markets on the consumer side. I will introduce him shortly, and he will discuss his work. The second is Paul Hilton, Director, CFA, for the Advanced Equities Research at Calvert. In his role, Paul helps to lead Calvert's efforts to integrate the analysis of ESG into traditional financial analysis. So sustainability considerations aren't separate and off to the side, but they're integrated and they're part of the risk assessment and opportunity set evaluation. Calvert has provided shareholders with solid financial performance and leadership and social responsibility since 1982, and Paul has been a driving force behind that. He's also the co-founder of SIREN, the Social Investment Research Analyst Network, and is treasurer of the United Nations Environmental Program Finance Initiative. In addition, Paul serves on the board in communities and schools of the nation's capital. So, and finally, I'd like to introduce Alan White, fellow at the TELUS Institute, who has developed the white paper, and at the end he will talk more about this concept of sustainable and consumption as referenced in the white paper tied to the presenters today. With that,